Welcome to Live with Greg, or Live with Greg, depending on semantics.
So you feel ready?
I guess. Does my hair look thick enough?
You look great. You look beautiful. Shiny.
Thank you. Does that mean I need powder? I'm teasing. No,
Yeah.
it's,
Makeup.
I remember I had a memory of being like 3 years old and being an empath and hearing, this isn't on, right? It's not on. It's on? It's not on. It's on?
It may not start yet.
Okay. But I remember I had a memory of telepathically hearing my mother think the thought. My mother was under tremendous stress. She's just not pretty enough. My mom was, classically very beautiful, and my older sister looked just like my mother, who was very beautiful, so she was quintessential, the perfect little girl, and I looked just like my father, who my mother hated. So I was the not pretty one, and I grew up with that. My mother never knew that I heard her thinking, but I was, as a child, I was telepathic. Yeah. So I grew up with that identity. I'm just not pretty enough. And it's amazing how long it can stay with you.
Yeah, are you still working on it, you think?
Don't you think? Right? I'm like, woo, my hair, my this, my that. Yeah, because that was a childhood identity. And then my first spiritual teacher, she used to channel. She had a near-death experience, and she was dead clinically in a hospital almost 8 minutes. And when she came out, she could just see through people's bodies. She just had amazing ability. Her name was Shelley. And one of our first sessions, she kept telling me how beautiful I was. And I was like, I don't believe you. I was sitting there going, she's channeling this information. I'm like, no, I don't believe you. And within a week, I went to... I was at UCLA, I was in college, and I drove out to Pasadena to the Philosophical Society for a lecture. And the woman, this complete stranger who sat next to me, right as we were getting up to leave, she looked at me and she said, stay as beautiful as you are. And then she got up and left, and I'm like, whoa, where'd that come from, But it was confirmation from the universe that I was beautiful, but I love the way the universe does that, because inside I was just like, I'm not beautiful. If I was, people reflected to me, I'd know it, and I just didn't believe that was beautiful. Anyway, so that's the vanity.
But is it vanity?
Well, it's self-esteem.
Yeah.
It affects your self-esteem. And the other one is practicality, because I know how judgmental the society is, right? You see people delivering fabulous material. I mean, really sophisticated, intelligent, thoughtful material, and they get trolled like, we don't like your hair. I don't like your and they're just like, what? It's so superficial. So part of it's just practicality in the marketing, and you're too old to be doing this. Why are you even on camera? And you're like, it's incredible. There was a show I wanted to do with a girlfriend, and she just wanted to be in camera. And we had a producer saying, we'll buy the show. We want other people in front of the camera. And my girl goes, no, if it's not me, it's no one. So we lost a deal. I'm like, I don't have to be in front of the camera. Just let's sell it, because it was good material. But she really wanted the spotlight.
Well, do you want the spotlight?
I've been resisting it, but I've been told over and over and over I'm supposed to be out front. I'm supposed to be because of my energy, but the being's a little shy. Like, I'd rather produce, right, and control the content.
Right. So has it been about 4 years since we were hanging in the...
Yes.
Okay.
Maybe longer.
Yeah, maybe longer, but not much longer.
No, I think it's been about 4 years.
Yeah. Okay. And at that time, I recall you had thoughts of a one-woman show.
I did. Really haven't done much with that. I still record material, but I have to go through and really archive it. It's coming in, but I think it's it's like people who can't write the novel because it's their life story and it hasn't ended. So they don't have an ending. It's kind of like that. I'm like, okay, now I have the ending. Okay, now I have the ending, and it keeps changing.
But that would be you out in the spotlight.
Yes. And I've done it before I spoke on panels, these expos, And when I'm on a panel and a table of people, people just asking questions, think of your opinion, that's easier than standing up and saying, this is who I am, this is everything I believe, all by yourself. It's very different when you by yourself versus having someone.
Right. That is true. Yes. All right. So you ready to dive in?
Yeah. Okay.
All right. So 4 years ago, we were both very broken from relationships that didn't work out, and of course, like, this is my memory of it all. But in your experience, this individual was like your soulmate, your physical and spiritual being. Like, you guys were melded, and this individual didn't see it that way.
He did in the beginning, and then what he said is, when I was around, everything was clear, and then when I wasn't there, he forgot. And so he went away for 2 weeks and came back and said, I don't know why. The funny thing, how people say we create our reality, we script our reality. I wrote a short screenplay, and it started out with this couple completely in love and engaged. And then she gets a text, and the man and her partner says, I can't, I don't know why. And those were the exact words he gave me. And it took me a number of years afterwards to realize, oh my God, I scripted this. And in the screenplay, she goes on to become goddess of love. During the day, she meets all these archetypes and she evolves. And by the end of the day, she gets a text back from him and goes, I was crazy. I don't know what I was thinking. Of course you're the one, So he comes back around as she comes into her power and her love and her glory as the goddess, So it's really hard when you're at a place of understanding that you can't blame anyone, because you know that you're attracting your belief system. You're attracting what you expect, So I still had the wound of the one who was not loved, of the one who was abandoned. So of course I'm going to be abandoned, because I had that still in my identity that I hadn't cleaned house all the way. They say if you attract someone and you're at the bottom of your karmic bucket where it's all tarry and sticky, you're not going to be happy with the relationship that you attract. So I was, the last number of years, I've been doing a lot of house cleaning.
What's that look like?
Journaling, crying, introspection, and just knowing that until I get on the other side of this, it's a flippant identity. I don't want to date. I don't want to attract someone else from at the bottom of my karmic bucket. Yeah, the funny thing, this is what I teach people, is how to expand their identity, and there I was, still with this childhood filter.
Well, that seems very common for people who are in a place of coaching, that they're often coaching an element of themselves that has deep-rooted work either needed or they're involved with.
Yes. Yeah, you have to kind of experience it to know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Okay. So this may be one of those areas where I was warning earlier, like you could go, no, Greg, not going there. But I recall in conversation, you are a very sensual being and really enjoyed sexuality and sensuality of life. And has that transformed in yourself in this house cleaning work you've been doing?
Well, I've been celibate a while, because it's, unfortunately.
That doesn't mean it's not practiced.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing with this man, was that when he spoke, I felt it in every cell in my body, and I never had that experience. So when you feel that resonant with someone, and you meet other people, you're like, this isn't it, it's not it. It's like, it's so, nothing else, works, You want the real thing, the full body thing. And he and I both had visions of one another, years before we met. And after our first kiss, like the next day, we had a very mystical experience. They call it a hieros gamos. marriage thing where he dropped into my body, full body possession, and he was driving his car when it happened, and he calls me and he said something profound just happened, and I don't use the word profound, and it was just like, it was weeks before I told him what happened. But there was just this complete merging, and one of my very intuitive psychic friends saw us at an event a couple of weeks later, and he's like, "Oh, your Merkabas have completely merged. You two could create anything." So there was this spiritual alignment and power, but emotionally, psychologically, we weren't far enough to handle it, to create the container for it. He had not had enough dating experience. He got married, before he got to date a lot, and the marriage was, from the beginning, kind of loveless. It was kind of a guilted thing. So he never really got to enjoy dating. And when he first met me, he said, "I didn't get to date. I thought I'd get to date more, but I've already met you, so what's the point?" And then when he ended things, he's like, "I don't even know how to date." He just wanted to date. He did need experience, psychologically. Emotionally, he needed more experience. He just didn't have it.
So do you think like the child in him won out?
Yes.
What about the element in you? What was it? Because you said there was an element of you that was wounded that attracted this relationship that was kind of doomed.
Yeah. I was the one who was not loved. I wasn't trusting him. And I was the overgiver. I was serving and giving and giving and giving. And he said he had a PhD in giving, but he was so drained because he was the giver in his long marriage, that I think he was in a position of he just wanted to receive. So he was just like taking it all in, but he wasn't giving. And that was, I remember having the thought before he ended it, but I remember having the thought, I don't know if I want to go through this evolutionary process with this man. I think he's too selfish. I thought that.
Right.
So it's like, oh, did I end it? Because I think I pulled back my energy just observing, and then he ended it like a few weeks later. But I remember thinking that thought.
So I think we all human beings have a romantic fantasy of an individual that's a partner that, like you said, every cell in the body lights up. And everything physically, romantically, psychologically, spiritually is just like on fire with light. And so does that fantasy still live in you?
Yes, and I don't think it's a fantasy. I actually think that I have soul destiny to have a partner. There's something I want to do, and I want to do it in partnership. I think my soul made this decision. And it doesn't have to be him. He can go do whatever he wants. He can date whoever he wants. But I will have a partner just to hold the energy. It's like when two or more are gathered, you can create a container to hold more, to get more done. Mm-hmm. And because of what I want to do, I will have a partner.
So what do you want to
do? Create a body of work that helps uplift the human race. Psychologically, the new paradigm, the new bliss paradigm. The super being paradigm. The paradigm of the human divine, the divine human.
So we're approaching the end of this year. Has anything this year happened for you that you've experienced that was divine? Kind of like the 3-year-old that heard your mom's voice without her saying.
Yes, I was an MC at this conference. I think I told you about this. Contact in the Desert. This is my 3rd year to do this. And I was a speaker liaison, and one of the speakers was on stage, and I was front row in the audience, and I was trying to wrap my head around what he was saying and kind of arguing with myself about what he was speaking on. Like, I don't know about this, and I was really, chewing on the material because it's pretty controversial, his topic. And my being was sitting there going, I could love this man. I love this man. And I'm like, what? Where's this coming from? But I'm intuitive, and I tend to feel the timeline. So I went up after his talk was over, and the first words out of my mouth were, "I love you." And then I said, "I love your work." But later that day, we met up in the lobby bar, and he just kept staring at me and staring at me and staring at me. And I'm like, "What are you doing?" And he's like, "I'm observing you." And then, a couple of days later, we hung out again, and invited me up for a cuddle, and we kind of did some blessings on each other and left, but the kiss was like, it was just a peck, I really didn't know if anything would come of it or didn't think of it, but we've stayed in contact, and there's a lot of interplane conversations that make me think something could happen, and like I said, I'm not attached to the ex, and I just told the universe, this is something better, someone who's ready, and I need to be ready too. This one's very playful. And
so what goes through your mind? Like, you must, just as we're human, there is probably comparisons of this new individual and the ex.
Yeah, well, the ex wanted, what he wanted was more experienced dating. He was like, "Oh, love is actually real." I wanted, because he hadn't experienced it before in this lifetime. I was the first experience of real love. And he was like, it's real, experiences. So he needed to have those experiences. Well, I've been in love quite a number of times with real soulmates. This was a lifetime of completion. So I would see someone, and he's like, "I love you," like, "I love you," and we'd spend a year together, and we'd go, "That was a great year, it was a great year." But I was just saying goodbye to a lot of people my soul really deeply loved. So I've had a lot of soul love. They weren't lifetime partnerships, but they were soul love. And he hadn't. So he wanted experience. So it's like, okay. Whereas this other one, he's had a lot of experiences too. Now he wants a partnership. He wants a home. He wants, longevity in a relationship. So we've talked about this, he wants the same thing I want, which is kind of important, right? To get to someone, it's good if you want the same things at the same time.
Right. And in your exploration together, have you talked about potential challenges and how those challenges can be met?
Yes. One of the first things he did was give me all his information, and he's like, "Do some synergy charts," and the biggest challenges were so much alike. And the way to get through that is communication, honest, deep communication.
Yeah, that's real nice.
Even when it's tough.
Yeah.
And that the relationship affords great growth, emotional development.
So do you feel
because of the challenges?
Do you feel you're ready?
Getting there. Emotionally, I am, but I want some other things in place. He's like, in full stride in his career, and really, really happy with it. And I want, a few more steps in my own foundation before I, fly into the arms of
another person.
Yeah.
So you want some grounded elements of revenue and career in your life.
Yeah, shoring myself up so I have a solid foundation.
Right.
Yeah, I don't want any kind of foundational dependency.
Right.
I need to be independent. That was one of the things in our charts, is we're both independent. We like our freedom. We want a home base to share a base. We want that. But we also like to feel free. So that's something we share.
Do you think it is possible for you to step into this relationship and continue building your personal career?
I do, because I told him exactly where I was at. And he was like, "I can help you with that. I'm really good at that. I helped my ex. I helped launch her. I could help launch you." So I think he does give. I think he would give as much as I give in a relationship. Whereas the ex was like, "Well, how are you going to finance that?" Well, he was just like, he. Whereas most people, if I share my ideas, I have some good ideas. They're like, "That's genius. That's genius." And the ex wasn't there. He was just like, "Well, how?" He didn't know how to support me. He really didn't.
Right.
Now, now we're friends again, And I've shared some ideas with him that I shared back then, and he couldn't hear it. And now he's like, that's genius. Now he's in another place where he can actually hear, which is interesting.
Yeah. Do you think there's an element of you, AnnaLysa, who you are today? It's sort of like the ship sailed from that harbor, and though there'll always be an element of resonation with this individual.
Yes, I love him beyond time, and that was the thing that really confused me, was that the love was so profound, and the things he wrote me, we are one in eternity, we will always be, da, 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 and it felt like we were really feeling the timeline in the future and all of that. And then it wasn't, so part of it is I think he didn't know what he wanted. And I think he's still in that place. And I really want to be with someone who knows what they want.
How do you live with the juxtaposition of infinity as divine and timelines and physical?
Well, that we get to choose. We get to choose. I get to choose. I get to choose. There are many, I think there are many timelines, and I think there is a timeline where I am with the ex, and I think we're very happy on that timeline. And I think we did some significant work together, but this timeline, that was not chosen. And I have to respect, he chose something else. He chose to date. And I choose to be equally supported. I want someone to support me as much as I support them. I want to give and take. I don't want to just give.
Right.
I'm really good at giving. I'm really, really good at that.
How are you good at receiving?
Receiving better.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's improvement. What did you learn about forgiveness in your path of healing from 4 or 5 years ago?
The hardest person to forgive was myself. It's so easy to judge myself and then to not trust myself again. Because I was like, this is it, oh, it's perfect, oh, it's all done. And it's what they call premature closure, Put all my eggs into this basket, this is it. And then when it wasn't, I was just devastated, the expectation. But I mean, if you read the things he wrote me, you'd see why I believed it, and the things that he said, I believed it.
I think any closure is premature because it's always in flux. Life is change, so simply said and kind of wrote. But there is an element of, even with this new person, like that's why I asked about the challenges earlier, because life is in motion.
But there is something when you make a decision, and I think this is why I wasn't making decisions on my career, because I stopped trusting myself. The love just like, rugged, ground gone. The ground is gone, so I'm not choosing the next step because I don't see any ground. I did not see ground for a few years. And that's when we met. A lot of that. But now it's like, oh, there's ground, and I'm seeing choices. And now I understand, like, if I choose this timeline, this one kind of disappears. Mm-hmm. I mean, other timelines will appear from this one, and this could come around or may not. I don't know. But if I make a choice, I'm on another timeline. And from that place, I'll see what appears. But I'm not holding on to this timeline. I tried that for a few years.
Right.
And it just did not work.
Yeah, it's impossible to hold on to something.
But the forgiveness thing is really important, because I tried to deny that I still loved him, right? He doesn't deserve my love. Mm-hmm. And then I had to close my own heart, and that was the misery. When I allow myself to still love him, even if he's not mine, then I get my own heart back. So you can't turn off the love. You can't stop
Right.
loving who you love.
Right.
That was the biggest lesson, is you have to love them even when they don't give you what they want, even when they change their mind, even when they disappear and abandon you and they don't keep their word.
Right.
You have to still love them if you love them. And that was the hard thing.
Yeah.
That was the hardest.
Very brilliant insight. Yeah. Yeah, but it's true. Like, you start turning off the love, and you're turning off the love.
I turned off my own love,
Yeah.
right? Because I'm always going to love him.
Yeah.
I'll never not love him, but I can see him as not an appropriate partner, as a friend.
Or even, I feel like you can love someone and know that they should not be in my life, and I can love them.
Yeah. He did come back around and he hired me again, so it's like, okay,
Right.
I can still be a coach. I can still do healing work on you.
But I saw this brilliant gentleman speaking about falling. And he's talking to the audience. And he's all, it's not the fall that hurts you. It's hitting the ground. And then he goes, oh, see, he rushed over because he knows my life, my well-being, it's important for him to be close to me. And all of a sudden he just fell backwards. And the guy caught him. And he's all, see, I fell, but I'm fine because someone caught me. And his whole point was to have people in our life that catch us before we hit. And the people that let us drop, let them go.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, there's a point where he didn't see how his immediate turnaround affected me, because he
Right.
literally went from there's nothing you could do that would make me love you more to bye-bye.
Right.
And my head was spinning. It was, he was out of integrity the way he did it.
Yes.
So the trust was broken. And I got that, even though the bonds of trust are broken, doesn't mean the bonds of love are broken, but the trust is broken, which is why I don't see myself going back. Because the trust, if someone can flip like that, I did get, that we evolve. And the current version of him is not the one who hurt me. He has evolved, but I'm still not in that place, And I still see he needs to date. He's like, now that we're friends, he tells me about the people he's meeting, and there's a lot of beautiful spiritual women that are also good at business, I'm like, go have fun, bless you, go.
And you're doing that free and willingly? There's no, pains still that...
No, because the desire's gone. And I think it's because the trust is gone.
So that element of all the cells lighting up in his presence isn't happening anymore.
I still feel he has a powerful presence. And the love is there, but it's not the same.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Do you think, you're talking about timelines and stuff, do you think that's an element of growth that happens that for whatever reason a timeline is let go of, and then new growth comes in that, this timeline is no longer meant to be
not as resonant.
nurtured?
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, I do.
Has any of this played out in you healing relationship with your mom and maybe other elements of your family?
Well, I did during this time of, after that relationship, I did heal with my father before he passed. That was a big one. And my mother and I have been in a good place for a long time. She's getting older, and I think she may be preparing to go. She and my father were both in the same position. All they could see was the good in people, and they were just like, everything's beautiful. I love everyone. I'm happy. I'm like, oh, you're getting ready to pass, because they'd forgiven everyone, and they're just love, 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 love. And whereas before they might have complained about this or that, none of that was there. Both of them were just in this love space, and that wasn't who they were the year before. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, oh, you guys are getting ready to go. My mom's still around, and she's still in that space. My father left last year.
Wow. You're okay with it?
Yeah, because we healed before.
Right, right.
You know.
What about your older sister?
There's still not much of a relationship there. Yeah.
Any attempt in the past 4 years?
I think I sent a Christmas card with a lot of love in it. I was in an incredibly just gushing love and affection for her. And what I got back was not that. It was polar opposite. And she had a bit of bipolar going on. So I was just like, not ready. Let her have her space.
Is she diagnosed bipolar?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And seems to get really triggered by me. So I don't need to trigger her, and I don't need to
You don't need that energy.
be on her screen if she's going to be triggered. So,
Right.
you know,
Right.
I send her greetings through my mother.
Yeah. And there are individuals that there's just parts broken, and we don't have to be the healing element in that. Yeah.
Yeah. And for the most part in her life, I think she's pretty happy. She's adapted pretty well. So, you know, just bless her.
Yeah.
Let
It
her be.
reminds me of that. I love Fiddler on the Roof when the rabbi says a blessing for the czar. May God bless and keep the czar far away from us.
Exactly. Be happy over there.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that is an element of self-love. That's kind of what I was saying for myself earlier. Where like you say, I am learning. And I think it's still a process for me. Like, yeah,
You're much bright and shinier. What have you been through?
well, I quit heroin.
No, you were not heroin.
I don't know, what have I been through?
Because you're brighter and shinier.
Well, that's very sweet.
Yeah, no, I see more light in your eyes. There's something going on.
I'm getting older.
No, but you've let go of some stuff. You've let go of baggage. I mean, I can see it. I can feel it.
That's good to
There's
hear.
less struggle.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Slowly, right? I forget the gentleman's name, but he's a publisher up in Nevada, and he published like the Canadian guy that was, Live Now, The Power of Now. What's that? Eckhart Tolle.
Yes.
So this gentleman in Nevada published Eckhart Tolle's books for the United States. And that wasn't his first success. Like, he was a very successful poet. Anyway, I had a conversation with him about the time we met, maybe a bit before. And he said, "You're doing fine. It's kind of like an oil rigger out in the ocean. And they're so big that when you go to turn them, it's a very slow process, and you just keep going, you'll be fine." So maybe that's what you're witnessing. You know, 4 years later, oh, there is a little bit of turn happening.
Turn yourself around.
Yeah, and I think part of what you said earlier, I think taking responsibility for who I am and what I feel. And that's really my responsibility. So even though my ex, I was hurt by whatever that situation is, that was my choice. And I wouldn't take away her rights as an individual to make whatever choices she makes. And what you said about still loving the person is, I think, important. And we have 3 children, so there's even an element of not needing, but wanting to respect this individual who's the mother of these 3 beings I love dearly. So they have relationship with their mom, which is, I want the best for them. Having a healthy relationship with their mother is part of the best. There's a lot of elements at play in forgiveness and healing. Moving on.
Well, that'll keep your heart open, your kids.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember sitting in my car and hearing very loudly, "Get a puppy!" And I really wanted a puppy, but I made the mistake of asking for permission instead of forgiveness. And my landlady said no. Right in front of her dog.
Oh, God.
Like, how mean is that? And I was going to get a little bitty one.
Right.
And the house, a little dog's not going to hurt the floors or anything anyway. But I made the mistake.
How long ago was that?
that was right when you knew me, when I was when it was just really painful. And if it had gotten the puppy, it could have lifted me out. Pure unconditional love, that could have lifted me out so quickly.
Yeah,
Just having
possibly.
something to interact with on that pure love level.
There is also, so it's interesting, entering into relationship with another being, whether it's a puppy or
Right.
a man or whatever, there is that piece of like, oh, part of my life is now taking care of this individual. And by taking care of, I don't mean at taking care of. Like, for instance, Marlin, my son's dog. My son's in Berkeley now, so I'm caring for Marlin. So twice a day, I gotta go for a walk with him. You know, there's no longer the freedom of like, oh, I'm gonna just lie in bed today. No, you're gonna get up and walk the dog.
It's also the interaction, the love. It was the idea of the love. A puppy invokes love. It would try to keep your heart closed around a puppy. I mean, I remember seeing a video on YouTube, and it was called "Your Brain on Puppies." You know, and during the beginning of the lockdown, a friend of mine got 2 little puppies, and my girlfriend was like, let's go play with the puppies. And it just made us so happy.
Yeah.
And he had 2 of them, so we hung out with them for a few hours, and she got one and I got the other. We just held the puppies all day. You know, the whole time we were there, we had a puppy, and it rewires your brain.
It's true.
Your brain on puppies.
That's true.
Your heart on puppies.
They grow and they get bigger and they become dogs, and then they become old dogs, and then they pass
And then
away.
you lose the old dog.
Yeah. So that's what I mean of that element of life that is always in flux. And like you say, all our choices of timelines and creation, they are creating potentials of challenge, even the blessing. You know, like becoming close to someone or something, potentially can also be the loss of that individual in one's life.
Well, I was, you know, I was still coming at the desire for the relationship. I wasn't in my full power. I wasn't in my full sovereignty in the relationship. I was on a level making him source of my happiness, and I know better. I used to coach people on this. It's like until you're fully in love with your own life, and you know you're creating it and you're source, and you are the source of your happiness. You're not ready to be in a relationship. You're not ready to commit, to marry. I think that was the guidance that I shared with people. And then there I wasn't happy with my own life where I was in it, and I was looking to him to fulfill me. Had I been truly fulfilled in my life, and he, started acting like an idiot, I was like, oh, he's acting like an idiot. But I wouldn't have gone down as hard. I went down because I made him the source of my happiness, that relationship. So that's like with the new one, I'm like, I want to really be in the foundation, being in my wellspring of happiness and joy and fulfillment before, we get involved on that level, engaged. So he's like, come visit. I'm like, give it a little time.
So this morning, did you do anything that brought you a giddy bounce of happiness or joy?
Yeah, I went down to the shoreline, to the park, to the green, and did my little ritual in front of the sun, and looked at, the light on the water and the beauty of San Francisco with just a little bit of mist and just the glory of the beauty of where I am. So I gave that to myself, which is why I asked for a little bit more time, because I was down, going, oh my God, I don't want to go in, I want to be here.
Right.
It's a gorgeous morning. There's no wind, and it's beautiful out there.
It is beautiful. It's starting to get crisp fall.
Well, we have a little heat wave coming in the next couple of days.
Oh, really? Another one?
Yep.
Okay.
80s.
Wow.
Yeah, like 3 days of warm weather.
Dang. Okay.
Yeah.
Did lockdown present itself as any part to your path of healing?
The thing about being caught by people, the universe showing up for me was really nice. beautiful house that I was living in. The landlady didn't let me get a puppy. But it was on open space, and the rent was quite low, and I had the master suite plus the artist studio. I was really set up there nicely, and I had an ozonated hot tub, on the deck. It was a really nice setup. It sold that January 2020.
Oh, really?
So I had to move out. Was it February 1st or March 1st? Can't remember.
Right when.
But it was right, and I had to find a new place, and the new place was beautiful. But I had the lower level, and the woman who owned the house had the upper level, and she went COVID crazy. So I had to move again because she was just like in such fear, and she was angry that I wasn't in fear. But I'm an intuitive, and I grieved before the whole COVID thing. I grieved a couple of weeks before it happened. I was up on the mountain, and I just sat down and I just sobbed and sobbed. And I knew, there was the loss of the relationship, there was the loss of the house, and then I felt this other loss, and I'm like, what is this? But then on the other side, I started getting my giggles, and I'm like, oh, whatever this is, on the other side, it does get better. There's grief, tremendous grief, and then it gets better. So I wasn't upset during the lockdown. I knew it was kind of a political thing more than anything. Money, power grab kind of scenario going on. Just intuitively, it's just like, this money, power grab. Not good. So I wasn't in fear. But the people around me, it was sad to see other people in so much fear, so much self-torture. And just, believing anything, everything. And there's no conversation. So I had to move again. And I didn't want to commit to anything because I didn't know where I wanted to live. I wanted to stay in California. And a friend just said, I had two different groups of friends who said, come and stay here. I have a spare room. So I lived with this one couple for 3 months. And then another friend said, come, I have a spare room, live here. So I was completely looked after. And being caught.
Yeah.
So that was nice. I was like, universe did show up for me.
Sure did. You did. You've always had that vibe to me of, there's an element, I think, of a free spirit that the universe does take care of that individual. And I think we're all free spirits, but in our evolutionary process, we need to accept that and learn it.
I do live on a wing and a prayer, and I've always lived that way. And I moved to Europe with very little resources, and people would say, come and live here, I have an apartment, come and do it. I was always looked after. The universe does look after me, and I have that in my belief, like I work for the universe works for me, because I'm here to serve, and the universe serves those who serve the light, so I serve the light. So, yeah, the universe shows up for me.
How have you been serving the light this year?
I do inner plane work, and I know that when you heal something yourself, you heal the grid, but you can also just like go in and send light to the grid. So I do something I call love bombing. You love bomb the earth, you love bomb this organization, you love bomb, your technology, you love bomb everything. So anything that's not the frequency of doesn't get in my field, because I'm sending love out now, right? Now I'm not expecting it to come in. I send it out. Then that love becomes a filter. So anything that's not of love can't get in, because I'm sending out so much love now.
How would you like that physicalized in 2024?
Oh, with the partner.
Oh,
I'm still a very sexy girl.
You are.
With the partner. And the funny thing was, because I had been celibate for so long, and just like, does it work down there? What's going on? But, he just said a few things to me, very
Tantalizing.
Disney, very light version. And all of a sudden I started feeling all this energy. I'm like, oh, this is going to get good. It's going to get, we haven't gone there yet. But I just started feeling so alive. Just with the thought and the anticipation, my body's already said yes to him.
Very good.
Which is really nice.
Yeah.
Because my body knows. When I was living in New York, I started trying to date this guy, handsome musician, very polite. We'd been on like 6 dates, and he'd never made a move, just very polite, da-da-da-da. And so I'm like, okay, I'll have a relationship with this man. I've been on my own for a while, and, I liked him. And it was during a snowstorm, and we were downtown, and I invited him up to the west side to spend the night with me. And the poor guy, we started getting close, and my body said no. And I'm like, I'm sorry, you have to leave. Never seen you in the middle of a blizzard, these snow caps.
Hey, you wouldn't even let him sleep on the couch? He was just like, no.
He had to leave, Yep.
Oh, wow. Dang.
So my body's saying yes to this one. I can feel it.
What about career-wise? How would you like that juice and energy and love bombing to manifest in 2024?
To take the new paradigm out. I think I've spoken to you about the quantum we. It's my understanding of the connectivity of all life through the quantum field. And it's funny because, we are one with everything, but we feel so isolated. And we don't have to. It really is a mind filter. We're taught that we're these isolated beings on this third rock from the sun, when we're actually in a living plasma field of love and life and power and magic. But we've, I think the indoctrination of, you're born a lonely, sinful worm, gets to you. You believe it. And you have to earn the love. You have to earn salvation. You have to earn the connection. So we disconnect from nature and from the field. And once we realize we're in this field of love, in this field of connection, we'll have more power. We'll have the power of the collective behind us.
How do you differentiate evolutionary process of consciousness as an individual and earning light and love?
Well, I think if we knew who we were, we wouldn't earn love and light. We would simply be it, because it makes us up. It's like, I think the lie on the planet is that we're separate from this energy, separate from God, if you want to call it God. Most people call it God. The field, quantum we, the field. So we think we're separate. So when you're separate, then you feel wounded, then you feel disappointed, so you do stupid stuff, right? Then you hurt others, then you get greedy. Because there's this hole, there's this void, and you're trying to fill it with the new car, with the bigger house, with the control of others, whatever it is, because you're not receiving from the source. But if you're receiving from the source, you're infinite. You're one with everything. There's infinite love, so you're not needful. And you're filled, so you'll be more gracious and more generative and more inventive, creative, because this field is intelligence. It's I compare it to parasites and vampirism, vampires. Okay, so they have the idea of living forever. I think that's great, but they're disconnected from the source. So then they have to take force from other people. When if they just realize they're made up of this eternal life source, then they wouldn't have to take life from others. They would be that field of light and love and energy. But when you deny the source, then you're needful.
Do you have anything in mind that you want to create to present this idea and concept of quantum we?
YouTube channel, podcast, something of that ilk.
Have you done any starts to that?
Not really. I have a lot of audio recordings, and I have a lot of writing. I just have to put it up.
You'd start a YouTube channel today.
I could. I need some techie help.
You don't.
I would like some techie help.
You want to start one today?
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay. Yeah. Anything
Actually,
else?
I want to do it. It's funny, the cycles of the moon. Do it with the cycle of the moon. You don't do anything like, you don't initiate something on a waning moon. You want to do it when the moon is getting bigger.
Right.
Right now the moon is
Waning, right. You weren't here during the full moon we just had, right?
I was here.
You were in this?
No, I wasn't here.
Right, you were in Strawberry. Does your place face the east?
It faces south.
Okay. Did you see the full moon coming up?
I do. I go to the point over there. I go to Harper Point.
It was amazing.
It is amazing.
It was crazy. This last one was like, wow.
Yeah, and I love it. You know, sunrise is 7:01, sunset is 7:01. You're like, wow, it's perfect balance.
Yeah. You excited about coming into this element of Halloween and the veil being thin?
The thing I like about Halloween is people can take on personas that they've been denying within themselves. You know, so there's, you know, if you're the good girl and all of a sudden you want to be the slut, it's like, let that part of you live, you know. But I don't think anyone needs more fear or cortisol in their bodies, you know. So like creepy things, anything that makes you contract your central nervous system, anything that takes you into fear and increases the cortisol in your body, I don't think it's a good idea. I think there's so much going on, you know, real time. You know, I think we need to soothe the body, soothe the mind.
Like our current presidential election coming up? That's going to be a
all
fun
of it.
one.
All of it.
The circus is in town. Are you familiar with Ray Bradbury?
Yes.
Do you know his book, Something Wicked This Way Comes?
I know the title. I don't. I never saw the movie.
Or the book.
Or the book.
Yeah, it's both great. We can leave it at that. Well, is there anything that we haven't touched upon that you'd like to bring up?
No, really, just the practice of being the love bomb.
All right. The love bomb is coming. Well, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Do you want people to get in touch with you if they want to work with you?
Absolutely.
What's the best way to do that? Email? Website?
Quantum We is also on Facebook.
Okay.
Quantum We, and it will be on YouTube soon. And they want to email me. It's my name,
Okay.
AnnaLysa Litton at Gmail.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Okay. Blessings.